enough, we are still importing toothpicks. Interesting enough, we are not even capable of producing tissue paper. And we've got doctors, professors, graduates from universities and tertiary institutions. So it remains that we still need skills that are critical to our development trajectory. So that's the reason why we are saying to raise the skills base beyond the current 30%. Yes, we are educated, but we require skills. Those are the skills that we require to be able to turn around our economy in terms of value addition and beneficiation. We have to pay particular attention in the skills development in the critical areas of engineering, technology, national applied sciences, and agriculture. That's 10. There is a lot that's happening in terms of emerging technologies. There's artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, biotechnology, information and communication technology. One of the reasons why we are still convening workshops and meetings. You want me to explain? Let me explain. One of the reasons why we are still convening workshops and meetings is because we are still some miles maybe behind in terms of information communication technology. This was supposed to be a Zoom meeting, a virtual meeting. Vice principal, online, seamless, with no hiccups, nothing. But we are not yet there. So we have to get to a point where we need to adopt some of those emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, biotechnology, information communication technology, all those technologies that are drone technology. Here in Masvingo, we've got Great Zimbabwe Ruins. We've got Lake Demo. We've got all the nice things in Masvingo. But when we look at our marketing videos for those places of interest and attractions, we are still concentrating on that direction. You're not the area one. Because we don't have the drone technology, we can't. Maybe we are supposed to be doing something better in terms of marketing, all those. So we have to adopt the emerging technologies so that we drive our economy much faster. To ensure alignment between curricular, syllabi, and focus on skills deficit areas. Up now we are looking at review of our curriculum and course content. That's the reason why we say we can't walk this journey alone. We need training institutions so that when we discuss and we find convergence, when they go back, they can review the course content. They can review even the diplomas, the degrees. Something that is interesting about Masvingo is a province. Let me mention it now. Masvingo province is the province with the highest number of inland dams, where we can do fishery, where we can do quite a number of things. To do things at one point, you might need to have a degree in aquaculture, a degree in marine science. Just for people who can study what you are supposed to be doing with talking, because with the Bakala team, with Lake Muturiku. So we need to come up with those kind of programs. I know Malaysia has got that program. A program in aquaculture, Bachelor of Science in Aquaculture, Bachelor of Science in Marine Science. That's where we want to go as a country. That's where we want to go as a province. To begin to exploit the resources within our province. So we have to align our curriculum, our syllabus, our course coding diplomas, so that they speak the needs of our province and districts and wards. That's also the reason why we have invited the Rural District Council, because those are the custodians of resources. To ensure that the youth scholarship schemes are supportive of the development, that trust of the nation, particularly Vision 2030. I think I've mentioned about this one. Let me proceed and Number 7, to conduct a specific skills to conduct a specific skills audit every 3 years and the national critical skills audit every 10 years. To develop a skills development policy and plan for the period 2025-2035, and the skills shortage and surplus are as we've identified in the 25 audit report. We are going to have the skills audit report in the year 2025, but we are beginning this year. Then to assist government and private sector organizations to fully comprehend the information provided in the 28 skills audit report. This was a report that was done in 2018, and we are going to work on it and make sure that we have information as to what was in that document. Then to ensure that the country explore for the adoption emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, robotics, drones, and 3D printing. This is an interesting aspect or an interesting part of my presentation. The adoption of new technologies. I think I've mentioned about all the types of technologies that we have. I had time to share with Madam Chikaba from the President Cabinet yesterday, and she agreed with me that for the tourism industry, the world over in developed nations, the work that is supposed to be done by humans is now being done by robots. And everything is done online using phones and everything. You order your food at KFC, right? And you enter your hotel at Clovers. Then at the reception there's a robot. The KFC delivers the food into that, put the food in the robot, your food package and the drink. The robot delivers that same consignment to your home. There is no human element there or physical presence there. It's all technology. So we have to ensure that we also adopt that emerging technology, even in our tourism and hospitality industry. To liaise with and ensure that the country's technical audit public entities are resuscitated and carry out apprenticeship training programs. Ladies and gentlemen, as we were growing up, we know we used to have industrial attachments. Delta, Simasco, Zimplats, Shagaina Wupi. Now we have got people who are going for attachments for the sake of just going for an attachment, for the sake of fulfilling the process of attachment. But we have to go back to the basics. We are supposed to be having real industrial attachments, internships, and apprenticeships. Where a student will come from that institution, having gained the knowledge and expertise that is required. So we are going to facilitate and try to liaise with organizations which can take students from universities and colleges so that they are given opportunity to have industrial attachment. When I was growing up as a young boy, I know quite a number of my brothers and sisters who were to go to Moscow to be trained as engineers there, were to go to mining companies to get some attachment that pay apprenticeship. But if you know that you go to Manano or an attachment for the sake of satisfying the supervisor. And after 4 years, the student is done. After I graduated. And you bring that student to Nyaradzo. Nyaradzo is an organization. The student doesn't know anything. 4 years at university, 4 years at Polytech, 4 years at Teachers College. I remember talking to some of the economists who wouldn't use an Excel. An economist who can't use Excel. An accountant who runs away from Excel. Those are the type of things that we are also experiencing. A person is coming from a hotel and gets an institution, but he can't prepare a bed. A person is coming up from a college or a vocational training center, but can't write a report. And sometimes when I was talking to some of my colleagues, I said, sometimes you have a situation whereby a director comes with a DD or a chief director comes with the director, not because he wants, but he wants that other person to write the report, because he can. So we want to have that transformative process where we are bringing people who are qualified and who are fully qualified. Then to ensure that universities, colleges, polytechnics, vocational centers produce graduates who will fit well into the modern digital economy, and that these institutions absorb as many candidates as possible. I think I've mentioned that. To address the bottlenecks that restrict entry into higher and tertiary institutions by interested learners who have acquired relevant qualifications for their preferred areas of study. An interesting part. My peers usually ask this question, and I also ask the question. I think I would want to hear from those who are coming from the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education. Ladies and gentlemen, what was the pass rate for 2023 for O level? Any guess? Then that becomes our starting point. What was the pass rate?
29%.
29%. Thank you very much. That's very correct. 29% was the pass rate for 2023. 29 from 100, that's 79. Are you sure that 79% of all the students who stayed for O level last year? Right? Thank you. Make it louder. Are you sure that 79% of our students are not for? If I say 23% of our pass rate, that was the pass rate. You know what about 79? It's only because our assumption is that all people should be academically oriented. There are people who are not academically oriented. We need psychomotor skills, psychomotor aptitudes. So it means whenever we are saying 23% of our students failed, we are not telling the correct story. It means we are almost forcing some of our students to be academically oriented when they are psychomotorically oriented. They need psychomotor skills. In any way, it's a ministry. Our projection is to begin to certify or to qualify, or to qualify, let me put it the other way, is begin to certify people who are qualified, but not certified. There are people who are qualified, but who doesn't have it. Test them and certify them. Just because maybe the person might not have 5 O levels or might not have English name. We have become a certificate-oriented reason. We have got renowned musicians from this region. We have died without degrees and diploma to certify that these are musicians. I can talk of Dr. Matavio from Wednesday. The doctor now, the one we know. We still play his songs even after his demise. But he has died without a certificate to say. So we have got people who are qualified, but not certified, because we are more academically oriented. That's the reason why we say 23%, then 79% would make it. So we have to get to a point where we identify that not all of our population would require the academic orientation. So this also explains even entries into our universities. It has become a norm that a student with 50 points in sciences, doing maths, physics, and chemistry and biology, will become a medical doctor. Right? So those with 50 points in arts, they will become maybe lawyers. But is this the only situation? Are we saying those with 7 points, 8 points are not able to be doctors or lawyers? I think they can. But because we have restricted that too. So as a ministry, we want to address that bottleneck. Number 12, to assist in rural back Zimbabwe, especially skills resident in the diaspora. Therefore, foster skills transfer among local graduates. We have got most of our Zimbabwe in the diaspora. Some who are doing even well. Engineers working in South Africa, nurses working in America, nurses working in the UK. It's our trust, it's our motivation as a ministry to do what they beg to contribute to the development of their nation. To ensure that learners of academic orientation and those with psychomotor are identified early and develop along specific pathways. I think I've mentioned that. To ensure that career guidance is provided in schools from any age. Career guidance at ECD, we have to identify whether the child is academically oriented or technical oriented. So that we develop that child from that stage in the areas where their orientation is. If the person may be sure that this person is going to become a musician, let's start buying microphones and keyboards and guitars for that person. If that person maybe demonstrates that he can be a very good footballer, let's buy a lot of those balls for that person, so that we develop those skills as the child grows. To ensure that universities, college, polytechnics, centers. Oh, I think I mentioned that one. I'm repeating the. Just a moment. Okay, let me go to the last one. To ensure that the business sector is encouraged to resume trade-related attachment programs in liaison with local industry. That I mentioned when I mentioned about internship, apprenticeship, and attachment. To promote coherence between education output and the needs of the labor market. That was my starting point when I say the demand for skills informs the supply for skills. In other words, we have to first understand what are those skills that we require, so that this informs our training programs at the university, at colleges and teachers' colleges. I think I skipped another slide, our core values as the ministry, maybe subordinated group, the core values. Number one, we have got our values as the ministry of skills, audit and development. Gender justice. A commitment to social transformation that provides equal opportunity to participate in and contribute and benefit from service offered in institutional structures, inclusive of both women and men in our policies and programs. Even in the decision-making process, policy-making processes, we have to be gender sensitive, include both women and men. Inclusivity. That's the reason why we are here. We can't walk this journey of transforming the skills landscape alone without knowing what the suppliers of skills are capable of doing, without knowing what the consumers of skills really need. So we talk of inclusivity as part of our core value, continuously engaging all these values, clients and stakeholders to provide quality service. Ladies and gentlemen, let me assure you that on behalf of the minister, on behalf of my permanent secretary, Ambassador Arevicheka, this is our starting point of engagement. Who will come and continuously engage you in our transformative process of the skills landscape. Inclusivity and continuous engagement is one of our core values as Ministry of Skills, Audit and Development. Then responsiveness, readiness to serve both clients and stakeholder, servant leadership. This comes to what Dr. Bashakawa was saying, affective domain attitude. I always tell my subordinates that there's no need for a person to stay in the office for 10 minutes. There are two things. If you can't serve the person, just tell the person who can't serve you because of ABCD. If you can, just serve the person, let the person go. Responsiveness. We will speak what we do and do what we speak in response to your needs as our stakeholders. We'll try to be a very responsive ministry. That's why we have said, no, we can't formulate policies and programs or discuss our skills requirements for the province. Let's go and engage them. Let's go and hear from them. Let's go and hear from the province. Let's go and hear from the stakeholders in all their numbers. High performance also desire to be a high-performing ministry. Stewardship, to be able to deploy resources to areas of national priority and needs. Then consistency. we endeavor or we try to be a ministry that will not flip-flop, that will not change goalposts. A ministry that will be consistent, saying what we do and doing what we say. That's one of our core values. We try to be very consistent in the way how we operate. I think let me go to the department that we have in the ministry of skills audit. The skill audit will focus on comprehensive periodic skills audits. Sectorial audits cover all key sectors of the economy, where we look at the agriculture, the mining, the tourism, the leather industry, the horticulture industry, and all the other sectors. We are going to have specific audits for those departments. Then, diaspora skills in contemporary. We would want to know how many of our people are in the diaspora are engineers. And engineers in what field, in what profession? How many of our people who are in the diaspora are nurses? And what type of work they are doing? And this information should just be available at the click of a button. To know that in America, in Australia, we've got this type of people, we've got this type of skills. These are Zimbabweans who are working in the diaspora and they've got this kind of skills. Then we also work on policy recommendations on skills retention. Training and producing skills is another one. And retaining them is another issue. So we also make policy recommendations to retain most of our skills. Program for reverse migration and special skills share schemes with experts in the diaspora. We want to ensure that people come back to Zimbabwe and contribute to the development of their nation. Program for the utilization of retired experts at home. Maybe on this one I will mention that what might be prevailing now is a situation whereby when one retires from Galvin, or one retires from Nyarazo, or from CMET, or from Delta, or from Zimbabwe University, then for sure that person is a retired person. But it's got institutional memory. Why can't we take information from those retired experts to develop our people who are coming from, who are fresh from school? We also want to ensure that we keep our retired experts busy. What's the expert knowledge? Okay, my boss, the peers, usually ask this question. There's one. So let's just imagine. It means I think you're there, Dr. Chopin, we're talking about Masaru Seo. Now that I'm Chinese Seo was our retired experts in the industry. We have never learned from them. So this is not only happening in the traditional way of doing things. This was also happening even in our professions. And yet, but when we introduce that, there are lots of doctors here. A doctor who is retired, we need to take information from them. Then we've got the skills development department. This focuses on psychomotor skills through vocational training, rural industrialization, digital and special skills. The reason we have now rural to urban migration is because we have not yet developed our rural societies into very modern societies. But the moment we begin to have industrialized rural societies, we won't have a rural to urban migration. Hard and technical skills in various sectors. Interesting? That's also our focus, to ensure that people got the hard and technical skills in their various sectors and fields. Then I will mention about this other part. And I think this other part, one way or the other, it affects all of us. The soft skills. Yes, we have got people who are coming from our training institutions who have got hard in the technical skills. What about the soft skills? I've talked of an accountant who runs away from Excel, an economist who runs away from Excel, a reporter. Vanamba dominance bofano pita busy. Wabuzwa a journalist that for the first time kumtrain kuti aiwa tinodora article so. But the person is the train. We want to navigate all the skills, the report writing, the soft skills. Maybe we can move the slide. People who've got problem solving skills, critical thinking skills, leadership skills. Mr. Bonnet can move the slide. We've got, okay, I always give an example of an interesting party. We might be producing maybe doctors from universities who are conversant in English and Shona or English and Ndebele. But let's imagine the worst case scenario. Have you ever imagined a patient who is deaf and dumb walking into surgery or in the hospital? A person who is deaf and dumb, who don't speak in the air. He wants to be treated, she wants to be treated. So it shows that at that level, we may need to introduce some basic sign language for professionals. Basic sign language. So that we begin to employ at Great Zimbabwe University someone who is conversant in sign language. That person walks into the vice chancellor's office, he cannot speak. He can speak with only sign language. We need those kind of people. People who can even translate. People who are conversant in French, Portuguese. Some of those kind of skills. We also need them. We also need the soft skills, the leadership, critical problem solving skills, critical thinking skills. There are many. Negotiation skills, investment, deal-making skills, financial matters, wealth creation. Those are the soft skills that we require, apart from the hard and technical skills. So that that's also part of our area of focus, to ensure that a person is coming from a college, from a university, from a teacher's college, has got both the hard and the soft skills. You might have an engineer, a very good engineer, but that the person has the leadership skills, the teamwork, even issues that have to do with national pride, understanding that I am a Zimbabwean. In Zimbabwe, those are the things that we are. So we are looking at someone who is coming from a university or a college or a vocational training center who is wholesome, who is complete. That's the skills development part. Then my last slide will focus on our. Okay, having said all this, maybe your question will be, so what's your contribution as a ministry to the national economy, to the national development? Our contribution is just two. Number one, the human capital development innovation and contribution to the digital economy. That's our contribution. Ours is to ensure that we have got a complete skills landscape overview, a skills revolution. Kutoshandura, the type of skills that I was, you remember talk when in Marsh West, I can share with colleagues here, stakeholders here. There's a guy who raised his hand. He said, PS, I'm here to tell you some of the skills and programs that we are doing are the expired date. At some point, they would have expired. Because the world is changing. Things are changing. They are now contemporary skills. The world is dynamic. So some of the programs that were done by our great-grandfathers, they can no longer apply to us now. So ours is to focus on human capital development and innovation and digital economy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what makes us as Ministry of Skills and Development. This summarizes what we do as Ministry of Skills and Development. But only in terms of my presentation on the role and mandate of the skills and development, I think I'm done. But let me just have maybe some few remarks as a parting, some parting notes. Whenever we are in our occupations, in our works or offices, let's think of a rural village woman or a rural village man in Chikwalakwala, a rural boy in Melpig there, in Zaka, who is even never close to authority, who is even never close to decision making, never even close to implementation of those policies. The livelihood and the survival of that person depends on us, people who are in authority. What we decide, what we do. So every time when you have got a laissez-faire approach in your office, know that at least someone is suffering at the hands of that approach. There are people who depend on us as a province. There are people who depend on us as leaders. There are people who depend on us. Some of them are not even near to power or to authority. They just look up to us to do something for our province. So when we look at issues of skills development, let's try by all means that we put our heads together, we put our minds together, we apply our minds, knowing that we've got people whose livelihoods depend on us. And they want those things to be done and done correctly. An engineer who doesn't fix a road engineer, let me tell you, a road engineer who doesn't fix a road, by whatever reasons, when people patch that road, if that person is normal, they should feel, or she should feel bad. Was that extent been avoidable if the road was going to be very good? So let's always remember that at the we have got a responsibility. That's why our own president said, the onus is upon us to transform our skills landscape and to build our country for the good of us and the people who look at us. And not only the people, even our children. Our children, they are going to inherit what we have worked for around this time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. Thank you so much for taking your time. I will take questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Director, for that. Another round of applause. As you were talking about 7 days, if the PS was here, she was going to talk about pizza, which started as chimodo in traditional places, and now it's pizza, which is patented. Everything around pizza is patented, but chakatanga chiri chimodo, like we do in our homes. But isusu as Africans, chimodo chedu chaibikwa na mbuya wangu na 1950 ndo chachingobika. Kana takuwedzera wairikubit pane tushoma tuma ingredients pandaita, but universities can start making chimodo, patent it, and do well. Wine making, yakatanga iri traditional beer, 7 days. And now we have countries that are surviving on wine making because they improved the traditional skill to become something else. And universities start teaching around those areas. Development in most countries hinge around learning institutions. I will give example here, Dubai and Abu Dhabi. If someone is going to learn in Dubai, tourism qualifications. You go there for edu-tourism, you go there for natural tourism. If you need tourism, you go to Dubai, you get it. If you need engineering, you go to Abu Dhabi. Oil and gas, you go to Abu Dhabi. When someone is coming from Manicaland to Masvingo, what will that person be coming to study? Is it now just generic? Manicaland State University, and I want to Great Zimbabwe, not I want to Blower. In this country, there is no connection to say, Loti Manawango study Chakati Chikuanika Kumashingo, Chikuanika Blower, Chikuanika Comedians, Chikuanika yes, Chiripo, and we need to correct those anomalies. Retired experts, a lot of my retired experts were in Zimbabwe. We don't even engage them. In other countries, retired experts, they are actually coming to Zimbabwe from the Netherlands. There's a program to send retired experts from the Netherlands to Zimbabwe. They come for 2 weeks, 1 week sunbathing, Washington skills. Eduma retired experts are Garamusha, and we don't utilize them. Scholarships. What scholarships do we have in Masvingo province? You know that this scholarship is specific for Masvingo province. The issue of marine science, aquaculture, because we have 54% of dammed water in the province. Do we have a scholarship in Masvingo that speaks around that particular area? We realize that as a country, we don't have skills orientation versus certificate orientation. Tikapinda kuma offices edu akawanda walls anozara nema certificates from corner to corner. I've been in a lot of offices like that, certificates after certificates. But if we sit down for a conversation to say, what have you done with regards to these certificates that you have? The majority of our people in this nation, they have no stories to tell, but just a bunch of second masters, third masters, professorship, doctorate, and all that stuff. And we don't have value created. Rethinking curriculum, apprenticeship programs. Do we have myriads of going to Great Zimbabwe University, to Morgenstern, to facilitate a lecture? Full day program where a facilitator is Nyaradzo University. We still believe in a professor is the one who teaches in the class. I remember a few weeks back I was teaching to a class in Kazakhstan. They said we need to understand culture and you need to hold our class. I remember when I was teaching destination management in Abu Dhabi, we did not teach theory, we just gave students to say, you are going to deal with Clever's Resort Center. For 3 months, that's your module. We are going to monitor your Facebook page, your YouTube page, and touching one of Clever's Resort. That's how we really get market. We not spending time to students 7 pieces of marketing. They have to create YouTube pages, Facebook pages, and market this place. So when you see Dubai being so popular, it's coming from the tertiary institutions. Students are given attachments. You are going to market the ancient city. You are going to market Great Zimbabwe, and you want to see your page and you track your page and its performance. That's learning that we have. In most of our learning institutions, we still have professors. I know Bukura Aisha is on 1990. You run another class and they decide to students. And students pass. Most of them 90%, but when we come to industry, my hotel students, bed, account students don't know Excel, engineering students can't fix batteries, and industry can confirm. And in that, consultative sessions. I'll open the floor for questions. King Director, very important. Questions, comments? Yes. Now,
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Toro from the Reformed Church University. I was very excited when I heard that one of your core values is inclusivity. And my comment or question here is on the inclusion of people with disabilities what strategies the ministry is putting in place to ensure that persons with various disabilities are not left out in the national development through this ministry. We have skills which these people with disabilities lack, the various disabilities, and there are intervention measures which should be taken by the ministry in order to maximize potential of the people with the various disabilities. So I don't know what is being done to ensure that we maximize potential, and are there any feasibility studies being done for inclusion of these people in the various skills? Thank you.
Thank you. Another comment, question, reaction? Right, no questions, no comments. Yes, at the back. So.
Thank you. Two questions. One is on the presenter talked about acquiring expatriates coming to Zimbabwe, probably to supply the skills we want to Masvingo. And yet I get from the grapevine that there are some Zimbabweans from Masvingo who are enrolled in the diaspora in other countries outside, in other universities which are accredited. And when they come to Zimbabwe, they are told with other universities in Zimbabwe that your qualification which you are bringing from that country, we cannot accept it here. And you cannot be absorbed in any industry whatsoever. So, I don't know. Then, how will we then take the expatriates who are not Zimbabweans, who learn in the same universities where our Zimbabweans learn, who are denied the opportunity to get employment? Because some universities are not recognizing those qualifications, and they want them to write other papers so that they qualify. That's question number one. Then number two, we are creating for skills. I was reading the paper, particularly from the University of Zimbabwe, where some students were writing interviews to get some vacancies to train, maybe in pharmacy, to become doctors and the like. They were 12 points, others 18, but they were disqualified because there was a tough competition. Yes, some students scored maybe 16 points, and then they were laid off, and they are redundant right now. And yet we are being told that we are not centering on pure academics. We also need skills. Probably those who are denied the opportunity to be doctors, pharmacists, the like, engineers, because of their points are lower than their expectations, are the guys who might come up being very sharp engineers and doctors. How do you look at that situation? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Thank you for the thought-provoking kind of presentation. I have concerns that my understanding is that universities are there to find solutions to problems of the nations. And do we have set aside resources for them then to actually research and bring forward solutions as we endeavor to build our nation? Otherwise, there is now a tendency of university taking large enrollments so as to get funding from students, not from research. Then the second issue that yes, at times the trainings are there to fulfill a fixture, particularly when it comes to field attachments. We have increased in terms of tertiary institutions. Every time you see students moving from one institution to the other, trying to get a place for field attachment. That will then enhance their skills, put the theory into practice. What policy do we have in place to guide both the private and public sectors so that students from tertiary institutions are guaranteed of some field attachment or relevant field attachment for their development? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll end here so that we continue the lecture.
Thank you, Dr. Chineperekwe, and all the people who asked questions. We had a consultative process or workshop that was specifically centered, oriented for people with disabilities. And those are the people that we from that constituency. So we have heard their concerns in terms of how they want to be skilled. And as they usually say, that there is nothing for people for people with the disabilities without them being involved. So we engage them with a full day consultation workshop. Some of the things that they've raised include the issue of ensuring that places of higher and tertiary learning are accessible. Construction of ramps. They indicated that most of the places where they are supposed to be skilled and get, they are not accessible because they don't have ramps. So these are the issues that the ministry will take to responsible authorities to ensure that those places, universities, teachers' colleges, lecture rooms, and what have you are accessible, among other issues of their concerns. And there is a report on our findings from that constituency. Then the second question was on the issue of acquiring expert tutors. These are only going to be, especially in the area of emerging technologies. And in terms of standardization, you've mentioned of institutions or circumstances where people are coming from similar institutions, and they are told that maybe you have to, and also ensuring that qualifications that are gained from South Africa, they conform to our standards as Zimbabweans. So there is a council specific for that. That council is chaired by Professor Jimbo, if I'm not mistaken. Then the other question was on acceptance of students with lower qualifications in certain programs. I think that's one of the things that I've mentioned in terms of reducing the bottleneck, especially in areas where we feel that we have lots of shortages and there are skills gaps. However, one thing that is interesting to note that is happening, or that might have happened at our tertiary institutions, where some vocational training centers, my university, and polytechnics. We met one of the vice chancellors and said, PS, it's interesting to realize that we now know to register for their programs. But I'm doing climatology, robotics, and nanotechnology. It sounds good, it's interesting. You know, like that general. Kana kuti ari kubva because baba vake vakanga vakamboita in planning, and she was a successful planner in my councils because my dad was a planner. But are we really sure that the person is supposed to be a royal planner? So our issues, those are issues now of career guidance, and also streamlining even our admission requirements and age qualification programs, to focus on areas where there is need. And not that norm, when I always say I'm going to 15 points, the 20 points my scientist, it's either that business to be an engineer or a doctor. Irrespective of that's why sometimes we read that we've got a doctor that trained about that's not passion in my patients. A doctor who is trained. But one half I need my patients, so hey. A nurse who is trained because it's not out of passion, it's out of instruction by the dad and mom that you have to do. I was talking to my sister the other day, she was saying, brother, do you and me teach my teacher? Because Baba will go out teach my teacher. So my dad will say, would you go to the phone? I want you to be a teacher. So sometimes we have to rationalize in terms of reducing bottlenecks, in terms of inter-qualifications. Then the resources, the resource funding in terms of research and what is happening in my universities. I think that one will be a second chapter after our first phase of consultation processes. We focus on MDAs, now we are in provinces, we are going to have sectoral audits. Then the question is now, when we are now going to implement the policies and recommendations from our findings, those are the time when we are going to now begin to discuss with the universities. For you to be able to train in nanotechnology, what do you require? Do you require the 1979 equipment, or require the modern, the 2024 version of the equipment? So those are these are issues for the second phase. Field attachments, ours is to facilitate the engagement for people who are concerned or people who are capable of bringing or absorbing students for attachment, to be able to begin to do it now or to resuscitate it. I have asked Zakaenda Kopi, where are our smart schools? Where are our Zimplats? Where are our national railways? Where people would have a fully fledged attachment for a whole year and coming out from that institution as a seasoned engineer, as a seasoned hotelier, as a seasoned chef. Very bottles produced to have attachments. But I'm happy the person who asked this question said, Zapitika Zazo Ufufila fixture. Which Madame can give attachment. And now as we have a ground, they have put in that report to put at school. They have put out Excel. So we are ours is to facilitate and to make things happen. Then we are the captains of industry comments. And let me hasten to say now is what the PS should say. Our task is not to take over any institution. We are not, as a ministry, we don't intend to take over any institution or to intrude in any institution. Ours is to facilitate skills development through engagements, like what we are doing, through lobbying, through coming up with the policy and programs, but without the intention to take over any institution or its role. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So what I'm picking for our report, number one on inclusivity, feasibility studies, we need to intensify that. And Director, I think you missed the fact that there is already going on skills assessment for learning institutions regarding the adequacy of their facilities to cater for persons with disabilities. There are consultants who are actually doing that study at the moment. I'm also picking the issue of equivalent certificates for foreign qualifications that is needed in this country. When we were in Ventura, someone said, I came with a forensic psychology degree from the US. In this country, universities are saying, no, they are not accepted. But the majority of the so-called psychologists in this country, they only talk mental health issues. Yet psychology is broader than that. So we need equivalent certificates. I don't know the process in this country, but I'm picking that for our report, because I know when I went to Dubai, the first thing you do with your certificates is to submit them for equivalence. And they give you an equivalent certificate, then it should be accepted. So I'm picking as a major issue in this country. Then Universities, resources. If the minister was here, he was going to talk about the need for professorial chairs in universities and really ensuring that our professors are coming up with cutting-edge research in this country. It's one thing for the universities here. I always check and look for what professors are doing. I think we need to, there's a lot that our professors in this country need to do in order of bringing cutting-edge research, cutting-edge mentorship, and ensuring that universities play their role. If I look at the professors I follow outside of the country, you are really inspired. They are Nobel Prize type of professors. And I'm picking that the need for professorial chairs in this country that produce cutting-edge research, and probably revisiting how we give professorship in the country beyond publishing papers, most of which are being published in predatory journals. Attachment policy, that's one thing that is coming up in a lot of our consultative sessions. We need to have a policy on attachments. But what came from the stakeholder consultations is the fact that industry did not ask for attachments. It is learning institutions who asked for attachments. So it is the learning institutions that should champion coming up with an attachment policy. Nyarazo does not want students on attachment. So when Nyarazo is giving students attachment, they're actually doing service to learning institutions, because industry did not ask for that type of an arrangement. It is learning institutions who said our learners should go for 1 year on attachment. And we are now pushing our learners to industry. A university is coming up with 100 students who want to go on attachment, yet they have never talked to industry to say, do you have the capacity to absorb 100 students? So eventually we are seeing students roaming up and down the streets looking for attachment. They end up getting attachment, and they want to spend out photocopies from companies. And industry, it's not their challenge, it's the problem of learning institutions. We need to ensure that when we are having 300 students, the industry has the capacity, and we can support that. I was at Midland State University 2006. That time our economy was at least better. Students could get attachment. Now, go in the streets and see how many students are roaming up and down looking for attachment. And they end up just getting it. And when they get it, they're getting 90%. That's the response we get from industry. That learning institutions, we are actually supporting them because most of the students are getting 90% on attachment. But it's 90% of what? When there's a young directly, kutumana boss, when there's a kumba, photocopa. So they are being assessed on behavior. But when it comes to the practical of working, it's not happening. So our learning institutions need to revisit that whole process. And the entry requirements is a clause. Manane 13 points in Zimbabwe, no man needs a Kapuana for university. Because Takuna 15 points, and the 15 points which are at a shine too much. They go to the Chukoro beat at mentorship because someone would have passed. Sakawanema 15 points were one. We do 14 points at our university. And where are we seeing our kids? Kazakhstan, Poland, undergraduate degree, Manawe is of Poland. Create an undergraduate qualification. We put a challenge in our own country. And eventually, foreign countries are going out, they want to pay out of the country. Ethiopian Airlines, the flight to Poland, now want to pay them with an undergraduate. If the permanent secretary was here, he was going to indicate that one end out of the country to do a postgraduate, not an undergraduate. But in this country, we see an influx. I need 5 points in a medical degree. You lead medical institutions in this country better than 15 points. So we need really to rethink our capacity development and our learning programs in the country. Allow me at this point in time to pause so that we break for tea, and then we continue in about 20